Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Pisces energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Pisces energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy. We all have free will. The high vibe energy can represent that people have learned some, grown and healed and matured themselves. There might, in relationship to some other people maybe not so much, because everybody in their Pisces energy has the free will to grow and mature themselves and temper their more worldly egoic nature, which can be pride, ego, fear, insecurity, having illusions about what it means to be in relationships with people, immature, bossy, controlling, lazy, whatever. So, you know, you in relationship to some people could be more high vibrational to them. They in turn could be more high vibrational than other people. So, it just talks about it can just be our emotional maturity level. But some people could be battling within themselves also. They might want to move forward in life a little differently. The bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone, and it's kind of hard to step out of our comfort zone, and we have our habits and we have our ways of viewing life and kind of whatever could manipulate us that stops us from moving forward, kind of loving and believing in ourselves. And there's some people in the world that are moving forward in life a little differently than they used to, and maybe when some of those people moving forward a little differently, some people move forward with them. In general, just other people in the world that they might not even know, and some of the people that they might know and not know aren't moving forward in that way, because it's kind of like we all learn these lessons at different stages of life, and some people have no interest in moving forward in life differently, because the truth sets us free. We have to kind of learn the lessons we're meant to learn from a certain stage of life before we can more authentically really move forward in life differently. We kind of have to have shed kind of an old way of viewing life or viewing ourselves or viewing relationships and ways of looking at life that we thought were just and fair. And high vibe people have really put some of those things behind them, and some other people in their life haven't yet. And so, we're kind of at any kind of given moment in our life, kind of looking for some people who might be kind of more on the same page as us in some way. So, this might be something that could be something that is challenging Pisces energy. So people who might be a Pisces sun sign or have significant Pisces placements, it might be something more that they could be dealing with. But even people who aren't a Pisces sun sign or have significant placements, we all tap into all the zodiac signs. We have our heart, our mind, our creative nature, our worldly nature, and within all of them, we harness them. We've either invested to grow and mature in those ways, or maybe we thought those aspects weren't as important. So Pisces is emotional water sign. Are we connected in with our emotions? Are we not? Do we listen to our intuition? Do we not? Do we have hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in our dreams or in love, or do we not? Well, this is interesting. The reason for the bottom rose reading is the fox, and the reason for the top rose reading is the seven of swords, and both of them can talk about how we can deceive and manipulate ourselves, because we can be tempted more in our lust, our greed, our pride, our ego. Like, I don't have to change, other people have to change. It's not me who needs to change. But if we're dealing with other people in the world and things didn't kind of work out the way we want, well, for one, we did get in friendships and relationships with those people. We were drawn and attracted to them for some reason. And if we don't work through what that was, we could keep repeating that same pattern. And the bottom row can represent the fact that we might have some mental conflict about seeing why we're drawn and attracted to certain ways of thinking or feeling or believing or people. And if we don't work through it, we're going to keep kind of repeating the same pattern. So, and the only person we can change is ourself. So when we work through kind of what manipulates us and we kind of see the truth of it and we realize how living our life that way, thinking that way, believing that way, perceiving ourselves that way, hanging out with certain types of people or behaviors isn't going to bring our dream into reality, and we want in high vibe, both these cards kind of represent the Seven of Swords, which can be Aquarius energy. That do I have hope and faith and belief in my dreams? Am I looking at life from a bigger perspective, or do I get caught up in my head and kind of stress myself out, afraid my dreams won't come into reality? And then instead of letting love and intuition guide the decisions I make, I might think maybe I can kind of manipulate the system. But I think there are rules to this game of life. And we are meant to learn that if we kind of plant bad seeds, we're probably not going to get what we want. And if we get in relationships with people who are planting bad seeds, we have to temper our ego, be willing to learn lessons in life, stay focused, stay balanced, take action in truth and love, or it's probably not going to work out the way we want. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have the direction card, high honor, great water, divine support, anchor, and the dice card. Life is about learning these lessons in life and kind of going on these adventures to kind of help us get clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And the Seven of Swords can even be, I'm not sure. The more unsure we are about what our truth is, and really ultimately kind of what is the more driving factor in our life, do we have hope and faith and belief in love? Or do we think we need to work more with these things of the world, because our more hopeful, believing, loving nature is also our creative, inspired, intuitive, imaginative, aligning with that energy and trusting like our intuition has our best interests. But sometimes we can go do things in life and our intuition, it's not like it's screaming at us all the time, but I'm sure we've all been in those situations where our intuition was kind of like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think this is going to work out the way. I don't think that person is kind of on the same page as you. You should go home now. But we didn't do it, right? Well, that's us. Aquarius energy is air sign energy of the mind. And we as human beings, we kind of like to think we're so smart, and pride comes before the fall. And here the direction in the high honor card, and the high honor card reminds me of the Six of Wands, which is Leo energy, which is about our pride and ego. We're trying to find our way and navigate this world and kind of learn to understand and learn these lessons in life. But initially we can all, kind of think, just thinking that it's being smart and it's being intelligent, or letting love guide us. But love is to be just and fair. And a lot of times we can get in relationships and friendships and workplaces where people aren't being just and fair. Are we willing to believe in ourselves and stand up for ourselves and what we believe in? Or do we think, no, this is just the way it is, and this is how the game is played? And, sometimes you might have to stay in certain situations, especially like a job, until you can find another job. But also, you don't want to be job hopping and having big gaps or something on your resume necessarily. But we can all have gotten into things because Aquarius energy can be where, we're just more kind of focused on these things of the world that we want to manifest. Aquarius is also represented by the star card. I want to look like a shining star. I have these dreams. I want these things to be in my life. I want to have these certain things. And I'm sure if I have those certain things and my life looks like this, I'll be happy. And so, in our kind of prideful, worldly, egoic nature, we got some lessons to learn. And then we kind of wade in the great water. We kind of wade into the world, trying to sink or swim and find our way. And it's kind of like learning how to float, learning how to do all these things, navigating in this world. And so the great water kind of reminds me of all three of the water sign energies of Pisces and Cancer and Scorpio. And this card does say Scorpio. Um, we're these emotionally complex human beings, and so is everyone else in the world. And, we can find our own thoughts confusing. So the Seven of Swords can talk about mental confusion. Other people can find us confusing. We can find other people confusing. And then we're just, we can have all these contradictory thoughts and feelings. Do I want to be in a relationship? Do I not want to be in a relationship? I might like this person. I might even have love for this person. But do I think there's someone that I want to stay maybe in a more long-term relationship with? Because ultimately, kind of what is my truth and my vision of how I live my life, or how I want to live my life. And sometimes some people think they're ready. That would be the Six of Wands. Like, yep, I am ready to go in to the emotional realm with someone. And then we have the divine support. It's like God is there with all of us to help us try to balance out our emotions. But then we have Capricorn energy and the fire sign energy and Scorpio. We can all get into things and we can all have the best of intentions. And for the people in our life where everybody continues to keep putting in work and effort, Capricorn is earth sign energy, so that can be about putting in work and effort. To keep being inspired, to keep looking to the future and kind of going, the divine support also kind of reminds me of the Sagittarius Temperance card, which is life is an adventure to be lived, and I want to go on this adventure. And so, though in the bottom row, I can have fears and insecurities, I try to not, I might try to maintain balance between my maybe more egoic nature, which can be my fear and my insecurity and wanting it to be more about me and my lust and my greed, with my more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. And I try to maintain balance, that when things do come up that could maybe even kind of tempt me, to maybe pick up anchor in something. Capricorn and the earth signs and the water signs are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel, and it's kind of about getting balance between the two of them. And the fire signs and the air signs are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel, and it's kind of going on this journey to learn these lessons, that if I too much make my emotional nature take too much precedence in my life, it can drive my life off into the ditch, because I'm so kind of tipped in thinking that's the most important thing, that the other aspects of my life can kind of go in the toilet. And if I'm living more from my mind than my heart, and I'm not kind of maintaining balance between equally being inspired by love as I might be inspired to kind of make my life a little bit more about me or these things of the world, it kind of throws my life out of balance. And I kind of view the sevens, which both these cards remind me of the Seven of Swords, as we can kind of get tipped out of balance. And sometimes people are moving along fine in life. They are maintaining balance. But then I guess the dice card is reminding me of somebody kind of like taking a risk. And sometimes people take a risk in a relationship, maybe not listening to their intuition, and they might do it either because they kind of are wanting to go indulge in something emotionally. And it could even just be to make themselves feel better. You know, like people can be living their life, everything's going along fine. Uh, we haven't gotten to the top row yet, but trying to offset your high vibe nature and your shadowy nature to keep focused on the big picture. That's like high vibe Aquarius, keeping things in perspective, listening to your intuition. But we can all be tempted by our more worldly, shadowy nature, our fear, our insecurity, our pride, our ego. People could become manipulative or controlling or get up in their head and their fear and their insecurities, uh, being selfish, feeling like maybe they can kind of take some more foolish risks in a relationship. And it's kind of like trying to push the boundaries and maybe kind of seeing how much they can get away with. And I kind of think anybody who really kind of thinks like that is definitely more on the shadowy line, because I don't think otherwise people would. Why would you try to push the boundaries unless you wanted to? I don't know. Try to cheat the system, and get out of being more just or fair or something, right? And and then there are some people in the world, they are more motivated and inspired and kind of emotionally happy to live more from their mind and their heart. And the Scorpio card can be where some people like to keep their more authentic nature and their more hopeful, believing, loving nature kind of buried underneath the surface. So shadowy energy can be like, I have an idea. I might not really have hope and faith and belief in love, and I might not want to be more aligned with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature and let that aspect of me out to play in the world. So then shadowy energy can be, I have an idea. I'm going to kind of use these resources that I have. I do have my emotional nature, and I do have my fire sign nature, which can be my sexual nature, my charm, my charisma. I have my worldly nature of Capricorn. I have my worldly things. I, again, have my body. I have my money. I have my status. I have my image. Maybe I can just kind of use those things in a more deceptive, manipulative way to get people to move forward in relationship with me, but I use my emotions manipulatively, like create the illusion I'm more motivated by love than I really am. Use my sexuality to convey that I love someone. But again, it can just be kind of more, it's like using those gifts that you were given that make you a human being and not just an animal or a computer. And people use those things in kind of a deceptive, manipulative way. And that's a risk that they take in a relationship. And sometimes they can get in relationships with people and kind of create this illusion, because in high vibe energy, you are who you say you are. You're not trying to manipulate people. And for some people, because of the way they think, and for some reason have this philosophy of life, we tend to think, it's the way we think, it's how we reason and rationalize. They could think this is what everybody's doing, that everybody is just trying to create this illusion about who they are to try to get people to be in relationships with them. But ultimately, everyone is really more out for their own self interest. But not everybody thinks like that. Some people really, have don't want to live their life like that. They don't want to manipulate other people. They don't want other people to manipulate them. If somewhere along the way they were tempted to live their life like that, they just made the free will choice. I don't want to live my life like that. And so instead of harnessing a more shadowy Pisces Aquarius energy, they harness a more high vibe Pisces Aquarius energy. And they were inspired to work. High vibe Scorpios about wanting to explore the mysteries of life, even to understand yourself. I don't like my emotions so confusing me. I don't like my thoughts so confusing me. Getting wallow in my emotions or get so up in my head. I want to have victory over it, is what the Six of Wands talks about. But you have to be inspired to even kind of, the fox, you kind of think of it hiding, blending in. Sometimes the way this kind of looks like a fox in a forest, it's kind of like people hiding in amongst all the people, trying to like blend in, but not really. High vibe Aquarius is shining your authentic light, being your authentic self. High vibe energy is being authentically who you say you are, not trying to confuse people about the truth of who you are by what you wear or what you drive or how much money you have or who you hang out with. But there's other people in the world, they don't live their whole life hiding, not really wanting to be their more authentic self, because that's a process to kind of step into living your more authentic life and feeling kind of comfortable in your own skin. And some people have kind of done that work to work through it, that they are being more authentically themselves. And other people could be kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, out amongst all the people in the world, but they're really just kind of creating an illusion. And some people, again, do we want our emotions to manipulate us? Do we want our mind and our fear, our defensiveness, or our ego to keep manipulating us? Or our more immature, self-indulgent nature? Some people got inspired to, I'm going to have victory over these things. I don't want these things, some of the examples I just gave, to kind of rule my life. I am meant to be able to learn to manage my emotions. I am meant to learn how to manage my thoughts. And I am meant to, like subdue the beast within and master myself, And then in high vibe Aquarius, Pisces energy, you would be a good leader in the world. Trying to shine the light and encourage other people to master their emotions and get balance within themselves and put in work and effort to get fired up to believe they can. Which makes me think of, where is it? Periodically I read it on my channel. Oh, I have a part of a poem that I've had on my fridge for probably at least 15 years. But anyways, it's a portion of a poem called Equipment by a person named Edgar something, but the top got ripped off, so I don't remember what his last name is. But it says, courage must come from the soul within. The man must furnish the will to win. So figure it out for yourself, my lad. You were born with all that the great have had. With your equipment they all began. So get hold of yourself and say, I can. But it does take work and effort. And depending on how long and throughout people's life, they're like, oh no, I don't got to deal with that. I don't have to do that. I can just keep doing this. And that's when some people decide, like, oh, I can just bury that under the carpet. I can just shove that in the corner of my mind. I don't have to deal with that. And they kind of keep moving forward. And shadowy Pisces can be having these illusions that I don't got to deal with it. I can just keep operating from my ego. And I'll just create an illusion that I'm maybe more balanced than I am, maybe more mature than I am. And maybe because they might have some of these things of the world that make them look, Capricorn energy, shadowy is the devil, where, if people look a certain way, have certain status, image, money, wealth, power, influence, or whatever, charming, attractive, whatever, they figure because I have these things of the world, I don't think I have to do that work. So, well, they're not doing the work to master their emotions, grow themselves up, work through their fears and insecurities. Other people, though, in life did. And it really kind of backfires on people because they keep getting older and older without kind of working through these issues. They just keep kind of dragging them with them. But other people were learning lessons along the way. And they did temper their more egoic nature and kind of work through the illusions. And some people, shadowy Aquarius, can be people that think, I might look a certain way, have certain ways of being that make me look kind of like a shining star in the world in some way, or they're just full of themselves. And then they think, there's going to be people who want to be in a relationship with me, but they take that risk that other people kind of won't see through the illusion. And if I look like I'm moving forward in life, victorious and successful enough that it looks like someone's dreams would come into reality with them, they're hoping that people will move forward with them in friendships and relationships, and that maybe even if at some point in time the people do see the truth, that hopefully because of their ego, they won't get out of it. And then it's kind of like they're anchored into something. And sometimes that's what some shadowy people are doing, from employers to people who want to be in friendship groups or relationships. I'm hoping if I can get you in it, or take this job, or get in a relationship with me, or marry me, that even by the time you realize that I'm not who I say I am, and I am more prideful, kind of have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. In shadowy, the temperance card could be that they're more immature, could be more ego driven, more materialistic driven, more about themselves, kind of deceptive and manipulative. Basically, in a relationship for a reason other than love, but it might make logical, practical sense. And for some people, since they don't really want to do deep, meaningful, loving relationships anyway, because that's scary and it would require them to kind of grow up and mature themselves, they're just hoping that they can find someone else who's kind of caught up in the illusion of the world. And if they can get them in the relationship and it looks victorious and successful, it's kind of like trying to trap them in it. Shadowy energy at the big picture is kind of represented by the devil, all these things that try to manipulate us. And the devil tries to stop people and trap people. High vibe energy, represented by God, is to keep loving and believing in yourself, to see what manipulates you and who manipulates you, and how you kind of self-sabotage, and and that you've got to do this work within yourself and listen to your intuition, or you could get caught in these traps and anchored in things. And for some people, they've already been there and done that, and they certainly didn't like feeling like they had been deceived or manipulated. They thought with some of the people that they got in relationships with that they had the same dream, and they thought they were motivated and inspired by love, and they thought they were people who weren't more prideful, egotistical, manipulative, immature, deceitful, full of themselves. And some of those people did take a risk. And that's kind of putting themselves out in the open. I've really got to love and believe in myself to stand up for myself and live my truth and stand up for what I believe in. And some people did that. And then we start out up here with the journey card. But that's hard, right? And, in our kind of worldly nature, we kind of do want to blend in. We can want people to view us a certain way. We don't want to be judged. But are we going to stay in something where we feel like we're being deceived and manipulated? Can be even people trying to have victory with someone who is very loving and nurturing and hopeful and believing. But that's not really their truth. But they like being in relationships with people like that too, because everybody likes being in relationships to a degree with people who are loving and encouraging and authentic and loving. But that's not really the truth of who they are. And they can kind of maintain that illusion for a while, but they are kind of more immature, and they are maybe more, they know they're creating an illusion that they're not being authentic. And if they know they're not being authentic, then they can start to get up in their head thinking maybe the other people aren't being authentic. And maybe those people are just using them too for whatever. And anyway, they could take some foolish risks because they lack some hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love. And because some of those people could have taken some foolish risks in a relationship and did kind of act maybe a little manipulative or a little prideful or thinking it should be more about them, or just did some foolish kind of immature things in a relationship, some other people left. But they have a hard time of coming out in the open. So, we've all been more immature and kind of run our life into the ditch in different ways. Like, oh shit, that was rude, or shit, why was I a bitch, or shit, why was I this, or why didn't I, why did I get so caught up in that? You have to get out of your ego to be willing to admit I don't know everything, and I had growing up and maturing to do. And I could have gotten really caught up in some things that I thought, was going to be emotionally fulfilling. And then I found out I kind of went down the wrong path. And I wasn't seeing things clearly. And maybe instead of listening to my intuition, our shadow nature can be, again, that we want these things that we want to manifest in the world. And sometimes we want those things that it does kind of cloud our judgment. We didn't really listen to our intuition, and we could have thought, oh, no, I'm sure everybody's motivated by love, and I know they're kind of immature. But everybody grows up, right? They'll quit being more immature, or I know they're kind of egotistical or full of themselves, but people get out of that, right? And they'll quit, or yeah, they're kind of bossy and controlling or whatever, but they'll quit that, right? So in a typical Seven of Swords card, the person is holding the Five Swords, which is like the dream that they have. And then they have the Two of Swords there, hoping, the Two of Swords is kind of Libra energy represented by the scales of justice, hoping that eventually things will get more just and fair and balanced, and hoping that other people will also listen to their intuition, and maybe if they are kind of tipped out of balance in immaturity or pride or ego or fear, that they'll get more balance. But that is a free will choice. And again, people have to be motivated and inspired in the fire sign energy to even want to work through whatever it is that manipulates them. To be willing to be more authentic, to not hide their more authentic, hopeful, believing, loving nature. And some people are like, I never planned to do that. This is the way I've lived my life. This makes me feel comfortable. And everybody has the free will to live their life the way they want. There's just going to be consequences for different choices that they make in their life, right? And some people are like, I'm good. some people have had some more just, fair, balanced, loving, encouraging people move away. But they could have decided, that's not my truth. That's not how I want to live my life. I might like staying in my comfort zone, living my life the way I live it. And I think I'll be happy. And, whatever it is that they kind of are inspired by. If it's, I just want to live more from my mind than my heart. I don't want to connect in with my emotions. I find that too confusing. Or I don't want to really do love. That gets me up in my head. But there can be then where someone is kind of more indulging themselves in a relationship. And for people who, same way, if people get jobs and they present themselves as a more stable, grounded, mature person than they are, and but they have like, they're lazy or fearful or insecure or prideful or whatever, that could be a problem in a relationship, in a workplace too, because eventually the people that they're working with kind of are trying to bring a dream into reality, and the other person could kind of sit right here anchored in a way of thinking and feeling and believing, and they're not inspired to do things differently. And then it's like, well, how do we have a dream come into reality? If other people are more motivated and inspired to work through their fear, insecurity, or their pride, or their ego, or thinking they should be indulged, or that they can be lazy to move forward, and the other person isn't. And I think some of the people who kind of know they try to cheat the justice system in a way, so long as it's working for them, they're happy. Oh, this works for me. But it's a risk that they take, because you never know. Like in the journey card, when people, and I guess the black and white card kind of reminds me of Scorpio energy also, because Scorpio energy can kind of be black and white thinking, but also there comes a point in time in a relationship, you can love people, you can work with people, you can be loving and encouraging and supportive, but eventually there comes a time where you can't keep deceiving yourself, and it does kind of get to where we need to deal with the facts, kind of the black and white of the situation. This isn't moving forward. It seems that my truth is different than their truth. Their idea of the dream life or dream relationship is different than my idea of the dream relationship. And I can't kind of stay in denial of the truth anymore. And when I do listen to my intuition tells me in the Thief card, I need to leave this behind, or these people behind, or this way of living my life behind. If this isn't moving me forward in a way that's aligned with truth, love, justice, fairness, growing, healing, maturing, I need to deal with the truth of it. And so then up in the top row next, we have the Murky Thoughts card, and the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. And this person kind of looks like they're dressed up for a party, but again, we kind of have that black and white theme. It's more complex than that, and people are more complex. We can kind of think it's, well, this is people who are more about themselves or more about the world and think you should make your life and stay in a relationship or stay at a job. It looks victorious and successful. It's kind of black and white to them, and they don't get why you're not staying. But the whole thing is, shadowy Scorpio and a more shadowy Pisces can be, isn't it more about the illusion and what it looks like? And, we get along well enough, and I don't understand. Why do you want more? This looks like we have what other people could want in the world. You should be happy. I'm happy. This is great. But other people are more connected in with their emotions and their intuition. And they really, in high vibe Scorpio, want more deep, meaningful relationships. and don't want to be in jobs, friendships, and relationships more because of how it looks. And if it's, and we get in these relationships, and again, to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And I think the high vibe people, because they actually do operate from love, probably would communicate with the people in their life that I want to move forward differently, but I can't keep doing this. And then in the mountain card, which I kind of view as Virgo energy, but it also says Capricorn on there. It kind of makes me think of people who like say, what do you want to do or whatever. And it's like, I mean, yes, part of life can be, I want to be in a relationship or I want to get married. But for some people, if you've talked to some people like that, that is like it. It's like, oh, what is it about being married that you like? Well, I just want to be married. I don't want to not be married. It's just like, you almost kind of wonder if they would almost get in a relationship with anyone. And some people are like that. So long as it has a certain status or image in the world, and those people, I think, aren't realizing and even appreciating within themselves. We do have our creative nature, our inspired nature, our spiritual nature, our loving nature. All these things are important, but some people could think, no, 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 that's less important. What's more important is these things of the world, having these things of the world that I want. So that would kind of be in the pentacle suit and in the fire sign energy and living more from the mind than the heart. And they can discredit their more emotional, intuitive, spiritual, creative nature. Like, oh, no, no, that's not that important. What's most important is these things. And I think for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're all really pretty caught up in the world. So. But there can come a time where people feel like I did kind of make those things of the world more important, and I didn't appreciate really loving and believing in myself enough to really be willing to live my authentic truth and not be kind of more tipped out of balance by these things of the world that I want. And it ended up feeling maybe kind of, again, in shadowy Scorpio energy of the black and white, that it doesn't have that spark of color and vibrancy to it, because it is our emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired, loving nature that makes it have that vibrancy to it. And sometimes we get in jobs, careers, or friendships, and the bottom row can represent that things seem kind of stagnant. And then we can find out that we're in relationships with people, though, that have a fear of change. In the Seven of Swords, they're holding the Five Swords, and the fives talk about change. And some people are like, oh, no, no, no. No, I don't want to listen to my intuition. I don't want to step outside my comfort zone. I have never been out there before. In order to go out there where I've never been before, I would kind of have to love and believe in myself. And I would have to listen to like love and intuition to guide me. And I have fear of doing that. I just want to stay here in my comfort zone. And that's then too when we kind of find out we're in some relationships with some people where they have a big fear of change. And other people aren't so afraid of change because maybe they've had more experience of it in their life, of working through these issues and facing their fears. Of the mountain card in Virgo and Capricorn energy can be, again, I don't like feeling like I have these things that manipulate me within myself, the world. I want to overcome those obstacles. And then in the next card, we have the Crossroads card, which is kind of like the Two of Swords, and it says Libra energy on it. Which Libra energy can also represent, I want to feel balance within myself, and I don't like feeling tipped out of balance, and I don't like feeling manipulated by these things. I want to overcome these things that manipulate me. And then after that is the change card with the car, which of course then reminds me of the chariot. And the chariot card in tarot is also talking about being balanced within yourself and loving and believing in yourself so that your more high vibrational nature is kind of in the driver's seat of your life, and your more shadowy, which can just be your more immature nature, is kind of in the back seat. And you temper your more immature nature with love. And, like, we've done some things in our life. We've already learned that some of those things don't work. We're going to put in the work and effort to listen to our intuition and love to guide us and believe in ourselves. We're not going to go repeat some of those old patterns because we've already been there and done that, even though there is a part of us that we all can like to stay in our comfort zone. And we could all like the things that we've invested in to work out the way we want. But if we've already found out that those things didn't work out the way we wanted, so long as we know that we did what we could to the best of our ability, are we willing to see the truth that maybe the other people weren't, or their dream was different? Maybe they were ready to move forward, some of the people in our life, and we weren't ready to move forward. And some of those people could have been sad to leave us behind. At different points in time in our life, we're the ones that aren't ready to move forward, and other people are kind of more bold and brave and more emotionally balanced and listening more to their intuition and their fear than we are. And sometimes we're the one doing that and other people aren't. But the thing is that, everybody is on their own journey, and everybody has to listen to their own intuition about, I just don't think I can keep doing this anymore. And so then they do this work to love and believe in themselves and connect in with their emotions and their intuition and get balance within themselves. And high vibe Capricorn can be freeing yourself from those things that manipulate you. And that's when people kind of get inspired, like, well, I am ready to change. I have offered love and encouragement to the people in my life to come with me. And if they make the free will choice not to want to do that, or I think they're being kind of deceptive and manipulative and being more immature or stubborn, it's like, I wish you peace, but I am going to move forward in life differently. And even though it's difficult, it can still cause people mental conflict, but how long do I keep putting in work and effort to make something work? Both people have to be willing to work cooperatively. Everybody has to get more balance within themselves and be just and fair and motivated and inspired by love. That's the only way my dream can come into reality. And if that's not their truth, that's not their truth. And some people are already in friendships, relationships, marriages, workplaces where they're kind of doing that with the people in their life, and they just, like normal human beings, sometimes kind of wonder and kind of maybe get up in their head, is this the same direction I want to keep going? And there's times in life that we're moving forward in something, and you can have good intentions, and there's a lot of things again that can look good about it, but is this really aligned with my truth, or should I let those people move forward? And maybe I need to take some time to regroup here and really think about how I want to move forward. There's all those situations in our life, and some people could be doing that right now. Maybe I did get caught up in something. Maybe I wasn't listening to my intuition, and it all seems like really great and wonderful, and maybe even the people are great and wonderful, but are our dreams the same? Do they love me? Do I love them? Is it just and fair? Are we putting in kind of equal give and take in the relationship? Because we can be moving forward in something, and one person could be more motivated and inspired by love, and the other person's more shadowy, but they're kind of wearing a false mask. Are we willing, you know? Sometimes there's shadowy people in the world that are just looking for someone who, again, who they think doesn't know the truth about people like them. I'm going to try to do this work within myself to feel more stable and grounded and balanced within myself. And I'm going to go take a risk to go maybe make an offer to that person. Tell them I would like to get to know them more, move forward with them. And of course, people can be moving forward in their life and people can approach them. Hey, I don't know, maybe I think you and me should be friends, or maybe you and me should date. Well, I think high vibe people are willing to get to know people, to see what people have to say, regardless of it could be someone from their past or not. But the high vibe people have learned these lessons in life, and they're not as naive and gullible as they used to be. And so it's kind of like willing to offer, be in an energy of willing to work together with people in a just and fair and balanced way from love, but I'm still going to listen to my intuition. And if my intuition tells me, or you have shown me somewhere along the journey, that you are more like maybe two-faced or deceptive or manipulative or more prideful, egotistical, or as I get to know you, I've learned to listen to my intuition. And when my intuition tells me, no, they're more either about themselves or the ego or the image or the indulgence and things like that, that's not my truth. I would just be getting into another situation like things I've gotten out of. If I get to know people and my intuition tells me that, high vibe Virgo and Capricorn and Libra, and I guess Cancer, if your intuition tells you that they're being authentic and truthful, not trying to confuse you about the truth, being more worldly focused, but trying to make you think they're more love focused, you're going to listen to your intuition. It's about being balanced in the two. Do I want these things of the world just like other people in the world want? Yes. Do I also want just, fair, balanced, authentic, and loving relationships? Yes. It has to be a balance of both. And if it seems that people are more tipped in favor in the Seven of Swords to be more aligned with having hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love and listening to their intuition, versus tipped in the other direction of being more about themselves or the world, or staying in denial of the truth that it's supposed to be about love, and love is supposed to be just and fair, and they still kind of think it should be more about them, or getting in the relationship for these other reasons, you're just going to listen to your intuition about who's who. And the people in your life who've already shown you that they harness those energies in a shadowy way and just kind of wear a false mask, you're moving on from those people. Some of those people see that you're moving on. Some of those people would like to, whether they know you or not, to maybe be in a relationship with you. They just, if there's someone who already took a risk and was deceptive and manipulative, they could kind of realize that, that's not going to work. And they're maybe going to have to go on a journey in life with either trying to manipulate someone else or going and getting in a relationship with someone who's more on the same page as them. But, I think even shadowy people, the dream is to have like a loving person kind of trapped in a relationship with them being able to be immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, abusive, or whatever. And they really kind of don't they know if they get in a relationship with someone like themselves, they, look at these three cards with the colorfulness if you harness those energies in a high vibe way. And they know they are kind of more emotionally shallow and superficial. They create the illusion that that's who they are, but it's not the spark within them authentically. It's like carrying a sparkler versus being a star in the world, They haven't invested in it, they haven't grown and matured it. And so they kind of maybe don't want to be in relationships with people who are like themselves, because none of those people are really being authentic and honest, and they're all being manipulative and deceptive. But when some people were in relationships with more just, fair, balanced, loving people, they weren't willing to do the work it takes to get more balance within themselves, to work through their fears and insecurities, to do love. So now they might be going on a journey with someone who's more like themselves, and both of them just create an illusion. They're have good intentions and motivated and inspired by love, but they're being deceptive and manipulative. And if they can find someone else who brings that spark that they could get in a relationship, probably either one would leave the relationship because they're not in it because of love anyway. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy? What's coming up for them that they might not see coming? The Two of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords. Why? Because of the High Priestess. So the High Priestess is like Pisces and Cancer energy, two emotional water sign energies. And then the Two of Pentacles is Capricorn energy again, which opposite is the Devil. So the high vibe people listen to love and intuition to guide them, and it helped them get more balance within themselves and to stand up for themselves, because they knew and what they think is just and fair, because they know some people are juggling. They harness a more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy within themselves, regardless of what zodiac sign they are. They want to juggle the truth. Well, can't I just present myself as high vibe, and if I'm loving and supportive and encouraging to you, and basically I keep my shadow nature under wraps, they're just still not authentically motivated and inspired by love. So you're in a relationship with someone who really doesn't want, well, I want to present myself this way, but I really still want to be like defensive and operate from my ego and not really be more authentically aligned with love. Well, then one person is, and they're in a relationship with someone who's operating from like their false self and their cardboard cutout person. Or some people wanted to juggle. Oh, look, I'm in a relationship with someone. I think this person's kind of anchored in. I think this person loves me. And some people have the idea, I think if I can get someone anchored in and they love me, I can deceive and manipulate them because they are emotionally invested. And then I can maybe juggle them and go indulge in something else. And because they love me, they'll find it really confusing why I'm acting like that, because they viewed me a certain way and now I'm going to go act this way, which is really confusing. And Scorpio also talks about emotional confusion. But the thing is, well, some people went thinking they could juggle people and be deceptive and manipulative. The high vibe people did this work within themselves to love and believe in themselves and keep moving forward in balance. And then the high priestess can be kind of sitting back and observing the actions that other people are taking. And eventually they worked through and got to the Knight of Swords, to the truth. No more emotional confusion. No more mental conflict. People who are just and fair are just and fair. People who have character and integrity act with character and integrity. People who are more emotionally mature choose to operate with people in truth and love. They don't try to manipulate them, control them, be intimidating, controlling. Some people thought, I don't think you're who you say you are, maybe. Or I don't like, because my truth is, I might like to manipulate and control people more in a relationship. And maybe at one time people were able to do that, but as other people worked through some of their issues, they were feeling more confident and stable and grounded within themselves. The relationship kind of got to be more balanced in a way, and the other person are like, I don't like this. This isn't the type of relationship it was when it started out. So I don't think you really do love and believe in yourself as much as you might present yourself as. I think I can take a risk to do these shadowy things, and they thought you would give up on standing up for yourself, and you'd maybe come back and do the relationship the way they wanted you to do it. Kind of in this black and white thinking, and give up your dreams. And some of you said, I'm not giving up my dreams. And every day that you weren't acting in truth and love and working together with me in a just and fair and loving way was another day that helped me see the truth that you are not who I thought you were. And I believe the divine has a plan for my life. And it's not this. And apparently your truth and your idea of what you think is just and fair and your idea of the dream life is different than mine. So in the Two of Pentacles, I'm picking up my investment in you, and I am maintaining balance within myself as I listen to truth and love and my intuition to guide my steps forward. And I'm communicating my truth to people in my world about the lessons that I've learned and how I'm moving forward. And if people want to work together with me in this energy, then I can work together with them. But if they're also kind of more fearful or more about themselves or more about the ego or the image or like to be two-faced, then see ya, I'm moving on. And I think as you move forward in that energy, there's other people that have went through these life experiences that were moving on, and it's like, wait a minute, here came someone up the path of life. I think they're kind of on the same page as me. I might like to get to know them to find out if they are who they present themselves as being. And if they are, then I am willing to defend them and move forward with them. This is someone I could have my dreams come into reality. So we pick up our investment in the people who showed us that's not their truth. I can only have my dreams come into reality with people who that is their truth. And I need to be willing to pick up my investment and look to the future and move away out of self-love from people who've already shown me that that's not their truth. They have a different idea of what a dream life is like, and it's different than my idea. So, high vibe people, wish them peace and love, but I'm moving on. What's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy that they might not see coming? And what these cards could be saying is you did this work within yourself, and for some people that are going through it, what you don't see coming as it is this process. And both Scorpio can be the emotional confusion, Aquarius can be the mental confusion, but Scorpio and Aquarius again are both fixed sign energies. And it can be hard to transition out of things. But the people who were inspired to change, they kind of connected in maybe with their Pisces energy, because Pisces is what helps us transition out of one phase of life to go into another way of life. And it's, connecting in with, again, with our emotions and our intuition and believing in our dreams and being willing to kind of take that leap of faith to listen to our intuition when our intuition is telling us that this is not my truth. And then they go, oh, and actually, that's interesting. Both Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer are all cardinal signs, which is new, the energies we tap into have new beginnings. And Leo's fixed sign energy, Scorpio's fixed sign energy. This was Capricorn and fire sign energy. Just kind of maybe more caught up in these things of the world, and just kind of having looked at life from a higher perspective, that, I thought this was the end all be all, but, I was young. I wasn't really looking at life from the bigger picture. There's so much more to me and to life than just thinking this was the end all be all. And I'm ready to move forward. If people want to come with, they can come with, but I can have friends and family and coworkers that I can work with, so long as they work together with me in a more just and fair way. But to get in a more involved relationship, no, not unless you're really, this is your truth. So what's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy people that they might not see coming? The Ten of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Ace of Wands. So the Ten of Pentacles in shadow can represent, again, that people are more caught up in things of the world. That's what motivates and inspires them. And in shadow, the Ten of Pentacles can be like, a person has probably learned everything they needed to learn from a phase of life. And even their intuition could be telling them it's time to look at the things that need to be, some of the things that are not like the good building blocks that you've kind of seen aren't conducive to moving forward in life a little differently, and take the good building blocks and love and believe in yourself and kind of step forward in life a little differently, having some hope and faith and belief in yourself. But in the Ten of Pentacles, some people are like, I'm not letting go of anything. There's nothing. I'm afraid of letting go of anything. I'm fearful of letting go of anything. If it is more money, status, image, they're not willing to let any of that go as being a driving factor in their life. High vibe energy is also being more independent. Some people are very codependent on other people, friends, family, looking to other people in their ego for people to view them a certain way. They're just basically kind of manipulated by the world or their ego or their fear, and just not willing to maybe live their more authentic life and truth. And they watch other people go live their more authentic life and shine their authentic light. But again, it is a process of becoming. And just like we weren't more comfortable being our more authentic self, or weren't more mature when we were younger, some people are older, but they're still in that energy, and they kind of never really live their more authentic life, and some people never will. But what they don't see coming is that some other people, the Ten of Pentacles in Virgo energy, can represent a friendship group, a family dynamic, a workplace, people who did want to be in long-term relationships with us, have been in long-term relationships, that some of those people are going to get inspired to step out of their comfort zone. You can, a lot of things can inspire us. Books, movies, music, artwork, the world, flowers, trees, nature. It's part of nature to shed old layers of yourself, and you give birth to a new you. Just like we did age 15 to 18 to 21. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to put that behind me. I'm going to let that go. Was that great and fun? Yes, but it's time. I don't want to stay at a certain age group or emotional maturity level all my life. I think I can go to the next level. I do have to face my fears. I do have to put in work and effort to keep maintaining balance within myself and keep focusing on moving forward and not indulging myself in repeating some poor past patterns. And I'm willing to do it. But until people get motivated and inspired enough, they're not going to do it. And for some people, they maybe never plan to do that. I don't plan to change. And they're going to have some other people in their life that are like, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to go climb that mountain. And with the mountain also kind of reminding me like the Ten of Pentacles of Virgo energy, it can be taking that time alone to work through all these issues and kind of these contradictory kind of thoughts that we have, and where do we even get all those thoughts, and why do we view life that way, and why do we think this way, why do other people think differently, what's my truth? I have free will to pick and choose to be loving and encouraging and supportive of myself, or belittling and berating of myself. Hang out with people who are more just and fair and loving and encouraging. But to see the truth, if I want to hang out with people who are more loving and encouraging and authentic, who are have put in work and effort to free themselves from their more fearful or deceptive or egoic, manipulative nature, I have to be in that energy too. I can't kind of like try to go put my false persona out there. It's not going to fly. And some people are like, I'm ready to go do it. And other people will be like, no, I'm not going to do it. And so then, those people will keep repeating this pattern. This will be fine. I'll be happy. I'm just going to keep doing this. And I think they'll keep kind of having inner conflict and mental conflict because there's probably because they know that these things to a degree do manipulate them, and they're not being authentic when they get in relationships. And some of them are just more motivated by the ego and the image and the status or the money, male or female. And that's the most important thing. Or to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't challenge them to grow or mature themselves. Hey, you don't want to do that either? Me neither. Let's keep doing this. Like, perfect. But other people don't like those things manipulating them. And they're going to have some people in their life who are going to move on. And yeah, if they look victorious and successful, just like, or status or image or charming or whatever, there'll be other people who want to be in a relationship with them. High vibe people just don't want to be in a relationship with anybody out of ego or to indulge or out of ego. They want to be in relationships based on truth and love. And they're moving forward in a more balanced way. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.